And I based that program on what I went through during those times in my life. And I want to share that with as many people as possible because there is joy after trauma.
I love when you said that you want to share that with everyone, because that's really what branding is about, right? Sharing your story, sharing what you have to offer, helping people build that perception, that trust, that know, like, and trust with you. This episode is brought to you by me. Yes, by me, Victoria Odekomaya. I'm a brand photographer and strategist based locally here in Indiana. And I love helping women, small business owners, and professionals with side hustles build and elevate their brand. So if you're in the market and looking for someone that would thoroughly help you create a beautiful imagery for your brand and help you connect to your target audience, I'm your girl. So why choose me? Because I offer a beautiful, luxurious celebrity photoshoot experience for all of my clients. The celebrity experience includes professional hair and makeup, wardrobe styling. I serve wine and chocolate covered strawberries, and I'm playing your favorite music because it's important to me that you look and feel great to create the images that we know will truly connect with your audience. So what are you waiting for? If you're looking for photography to help you elevate your brand, call on your girl because I got you. Hi everyone, it's your girl Victoria Odekomaya. If you're new here, I'm a brand photographer and strategist, and I love to help female business owners be seen, known, and heard with my photography and brand strategy so they can build a personal brand, a strong personal brand. So today I'm going to be talking personal branding and all the amazing things with my guest today, author Ann Payton. I call her author Ann Payton, but she really is Ann Payton, but she's an author, she's a coach. She helps women that have gone through adversity and trauma. So we're going to be talking about how she's building a brand. I'm seeing it popping up on social media everywhere. I mean, if you don't know her, you really need to key into some of the things that she's doing, and we're going to be breaking it down today. So if you love content like this, if you're looking to grow your brand in 2024, be sure to like, subscribe, and do all of the things so that we can stay connected. So without much ado, let's get into it. Hey, welcome. And how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you.
Okay, so before we get started, I have to say that today is your birthday.
Yes.
I know for people, yes. And
Today
for
is
people,
my birthday.
obviously, we are recording today, December 29th, and today's your birthday. So I am so honored to be sharing today with you, that you're sharing today with me. So thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love working with you, Victoria.
Oh, I love working with you too. So let's just get into it. I know it's kind of early in the morning. Once you're done today with every of this business things that you're doing, right? What is your plan for the rest of the day to celebrate your birthday?
Well, I plan to just relax a little bit. There's some things I haven't read that I'm stacking up, and dinner, of course, with the family. And then we're into football. So tonight's some good college football.
Nice. I feel like as we grow older, it's the little things that just kind of count even more. Like we hold more there. Like when we were younger, we want to go party and do all the things, but now you just want to spend time with family and just enjoy your personal time and things like that.
Exactly.
Right.
That's perfect.
That's amazing. Well, happy birthday. All right. So for those that don't know you, like I said in the introduction, I've seen your brand grow tremendously in the last 6 months or so. And I know that we work together, but it really is because you're putting in the work and doing all of the things. And I say this all the time, the brand builds the business. You know, when people know about you, they get attracted to you, and they're coming to, they want to work with you. They want to be associated with you. But before we go into that again, like I was saying, I want you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you do, and then we'll get into the conversation.
All right. Well, I'm Ann Payton. Hi. I'm an author of 2 best-selling books. I'm also a keynote speaker, and I do have a coaching program with a 5-step program to help women overcome and heal from trauma. And I based that program on what I went through during those times in my life. And I want to share that with as many people as possible because there is joy after trauma.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. I love when you said that you want to share that with everyone because that's really what branding is about, right? Sharing your story, sharing what you have to offer, helping people build that perception, that trust, that know, like, and trust with you. So before we go into that, I kind of want to talk a little bit about how you work with people. I know that you have this series going on Facebook every Friday that
Yeah.
look at guys. If you're not watching that, you need to get plugged into that. It's on Ann Payton's Facebook. She goes live and sometimes it's recorded, but she brings on guests to talk about adversity, to talk about some of the things. And the thing about it, and you can correct me if you're wrong, if I'm wrong here, is that, sometimes we don't even know people that are going through it, right? And so by you watching, I feel like you can learn some of those clues to look out for. And can you tell us a little bit about some of the things that people are going through that we can, learn from or be on the lookout for?
Well, it that brings up the last time I had a speaking engagement. One of my questions was, how do I know if I've experienced trauma? And that's a great question because sometimes we think, okay, well, trauma is having a gun held to your head, rape, or something very, very violent. But actually, we are created to go through grieving when we've experienced a trauma that could be, a death of a friend, a death of a family member. That's trauma. It's interrupting your life. And if you don't deal with that in, a series of steps and in time, then that actually can turn into PTSD, which is what happened to me because I never dealt any of my traumas for years. So I think people need to realize that trauma is different to other people. I've lost my dad and it was traumatic, but maybe someone who's lost a dad that was not around or was, just they had such a very special relationship. That's major trauma. And I don't think people realize that.
That's interesting, because you're right. I mean, when I think about trauma, we're thinking about the big stuff, the heavy stuff, right? But what you're saying is that even the little things, right? Someone sometimes just like losing a loved one, or like maybe even having an experience from childhood. And I know that's something that people are talking a lot. We're having that conversation more often now, where some of the things that we've gone through in childhood are showing up now in our adulthood, right? Because we didn't take care of it, and it's affecting relationships, it's affecting, all the different parts of our lives. So like, what are some of the ways that you deal, like, will you work with people to identify this trauma? Obviously, I know you say you have that 5-step program, that you help people to overcome and heal from it, but like, maybe talk a little bit about the identification of it. So whoever is watching today, I know you're giving us an example, but like some of the things that you actually talk about to help us identify even the little stuff.
Yes. First of all, when I work with someone, we have to take the time that person has to take the time, like you said, work at it and figure out what's triggering them, what maybe in their past they don't even realize is triggering them now. And I also do have a checklist on my website. You can download a trauma checklist, and it asks you some questions to think about. And if I can just use the example of losing my dad, it was traumatic and, I got help right away. However, that doesn't mean that everything is just going to be hunky-dory for here on out, but you will be able to, you can see after the fact, there actually will be some good that comes out of something that was so sad.
Wow.
But before you kind of get into that, you have to know yourself and what about this experience or that experience is causing you to want to bury it or not deal with it. Or maybe you think you've dealt with it, but there were certain parts of that experience that you didn't actually connect and go through. So it could be
Wow.
series.
That is incredible. Also, especially with around the holiday season, like I said, today's your birthday, December 29th. So, around the holiday season, that's even more, I think the word is obvious or maybe more intensified, because especially for people that have lost loved ones or that have that are grieving and things like that. It seems like it's magnified over the holidays. And, we don't want to take away from the grieving process, but I love what you said about, like there's good. We can still see the good in the bad times, right? So
Mhm.
you help people to see that good and walking through that process to get to that point.
Yes, I mean there was like a loss of a goal. I ran for office and I lost, and I was the best candidate, and I was devastated. And it took a couple years for me to really go through why I started to feel the way I did, and I might not have been aware of it at first because I'm like, okay, well, I lost. Let's try something else. But no, it doesn't work that way.
Wow. Wow. So you just opened up a whole different ball game here. Like it's not just the relationships that we lose or that is, traumatized, but it's like in everything that you do as a business owner or as a professional. Like if you didn't get the job or you lost the election or you lost that contract to a competitor and something like, those are things that we really need to walk through because they can be traumatizing. Wow.
Absolutely. And I think that part of that is just most people think of the big stuff, but, not being picked for the job or losing a race or something that you put your time in and your energy. And that's why they kind of call it a goal trauma. You can't just throw that aside. You got to think about it. Well, I put this into it and this into it. And I had support. I had people from over here and over here helping me with this. And I didn't get it. Yeah, you need to take some time. And that time is, sometimes alone, sometimes with a friend or a counselor or a coach.
Mhm.
But, I think nowadays that just seems unproductive. But just sitting there silently and thinking or talking to the universe or praying to God, whatever it is that works for you, you've got to actually go through your feelings and what's in your heart to actually pinpoint how you can then overcome and work through that.
That is incredible. So I know it sounds like we're getting into your 5-step program already. You've already told us about this checklist on how to identify this trauma, because even in this conversation, we've identified a different type of trauma, the goal trauma, right? So if you're watching, if you're curious to see, what type of trauma that you might have or, still be dealing with, please go ahead and check out that link. I'm going to make sure I put it all in the comments below as well. But also tell us a little bit about this 5-step program. If you can summarize it, because I know that this is something that you do, and we're going to talk about how you do all of that later and you tell the world about it, but just give us a snippet, a summary of how you help people overcome adversity with your 5-step program.
Well, like I said, the first thing is getting to realize that, you have this experience and it takes time to figure out why that's bothering you as much as it is, because like I said, trauma is so many different things. And then from there, what we want to do, if it was something way in the past, we got to figure out what their mindset was. So this experience happens. Then did they switch over to an escape mindset where, that's something that just really wasn't a big deal. I'm just going to not look at it. Or did they actually go into a mindset that, okay, this is really tough and they want to be in a growth mindset where they can kind of dissect it and see, okay, this is why that hurts so much. And I know that sounds very elementary, but that's important for us to ask ourselves those questions. And then, like I said, I started to see good things that happened from the death of my father, such as our family got closer. Our family grew in other ways. And by losing a election, it was devastating. However, I think afterwards, going through this step, I figured out what good came from it. I mean, who can say? Not many. I ran for office and I got to see what that's like. And I met some really incredible people. I met a whole different group of our community of people that were involved in politics. So there were a lot of good things that happened to it. And so those are kind of the first couple of steps that we go into. And then from there, it kind of varies stories for the person. So for instance, like if you were raped, we then were going to dive into who this person was. Was this long time ago? What did you do at that time? And, it kind of gets a little bit more detailed. So we go into things like that. And then at the end, which I think is when I got the aha moment, is we tend to blame ourselves for bad things that happen to us. So for instance, when I was in high school, I was raped, and that put me in a spiral downward that lasted for, decades, because I never dealt with it. But by the time I did deal with everything, I forgave him. That was a big part, because even though I had no control over that, that's our mindset. What if I would have done this? Why did I do this? Oh my gosh, and then society gives these things that get into your head, like, well, you shouldn't have been wearing that, if I may call it crap. So when I finally felt completely healed and ready to move on, I found joy in my life. That was after all the forgiveness of myself, the forgiveness of someone who may have hurt you. And that's kind of a short version, because I could go on and on.
I know, I was going to say, because so you kind of went into, my next question about the goal of going through this step is finding your joy, forgiving yourself, being able to move on and face whatever comes, because if we've swept it under the rug, right, it comes out in other forms, right? But by dealing with it, we're better prepared for the future. So I think that this is helping me understand even more so why it's important for you to be out there and letting your brand shine, because there's so many people that don't even know that they're going through stuff that you need to reach so that you can help them heal. So that makes sense a lot with the whole branding thing. And I know you're doing such a phenomenal job about it right now. Like, I feel like I'm seeing you all over the place, like having conversations with all the people that you're working with, all the people that are being impactful, in this space. So tell us a little bit about that journey. Like, with you, why was it important for you to share your story to attract people that are, maybe going through, like, sharing your brand story with them?
Well, when my earliest trauma was rape in high school, and it took me a while to do my 5-step program, because I really didn't have a 5-step program back there. But I think what the worst part of all of it was, I didn't have any support. I felt so alone. I didn't want to tell my parents, because whether it's back in the 80s or now, there's still some stigma of that violent act. And so I buried it. I buried it deep. I couldn't talk to anyone. And like you said, people, they just maybe didn't notice. And because I didn't deal with it, it turned into, depression, and, it can go into something medical, problem with your body. So I think for me, knowing what I went through, and I did overcome it, that I want to be there for those that feel alone, because you really aren't alone, but you feel like you're alone. I don't know anyone else in high school at that time that experienced something like that, but I'm sure there were. But I couldn't open up to the school counselor. It's just that feeling that no one understands. And so then you isolate yourself. And so I want to be out there for people, for women, to let them know that they are not alone, and there is support out there. There's help. And just by knowing that someone else has gone through, doesn't have to be the exact thing, but just something similar, that's, to me, would have been priceless for me back then.
Right. That is so powerful. And, I'm so sorry about your experience. I know obviously you like you said, overcome it right now, but it's still very, just hearing that and hearing your voice is like you can feel, the pain and of that time. And I know that, somebody listening to this can also connect with that as well. And I see also again why it's important to let your voice be heard, and so let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you're doing,
Sure.
to just put your brand out there. I said a little bit before, like your Facebook, lives. Tell us a little bit about that and how that came about and how that's going.
Well, the Facebook coffee chat is every Friday morning. And I started that back when my second book was launched. And I wanting to give value to people. And so I wanted to give little tips or little stories every Friday morning to help others maybe identify something within them or maybe within someone that they knew. And then it kind of evolved as the books got a little more popular and I began speaking about it. I expanded that coffee chat to include other people that are out there supporting people. Like the Hannah Center was the last 2 weeks, and there was a community center up in Indianapolis that was just doing extremely neat things. I wanted to spotlight them because I think if people know that there are things out there that can assist them and help them, that is priceless, because when someone's going through it, they think they're all alone and no one can help.
Right. And your Facebook lives is taking on a life of its own, really. Your coffee chat. I know I try to tune in every Friday just to catch a glimpse of it. So, and then I love all the people that you're bringing in too. So one of my questions for you is why Facebook? Because there are multiple platforms, and I know you do speaking, you reach people but as far as social media goes, you've chosen Facebook. Perhaps that's because, you tell me, like, why Facebook?
Well, I think that was, at least in the beginning, what I was familiar with.
Okay. That's
And then when I started writing books, I went into LinkedIn, and at that time it was Twitter and Instagram. So I've expanded to those. And then my videos, I do go ahead and put on TikTok. And basically it was just to get the message out there to help as many people as possible. And it has grown. There are some ways that you can expand your reach. And I know I learned many of those from you when you were my coach. So I just kept implementing it. Each time I got a little bit better. And, I think one of the things that you had told me is you just got to be consistent and
yes.
get yourself out there. And, maybe it's uncomfortable sometimes for people to do that. But if you think of the goal in your head of getting to some of those people that are hurting, then you're motivated to do it.
Yes. I love that, with the consistency. I think that's something that most of us don't do, and then we're like, we give up too quickly, and sometimes it's uncomfortable, to get on and do the video or to show up live or do all the things, right? But when we're doing it consistently, first of all, it gets easier. Then secondly, this message start resonating with people. And I think because of your audience, obviously there's different platform cater to different, people. Like, LinkedIn is more known for like the professionals, and,
Mhm.
TikTok is a little bit more of the younger crowd and all of that. But because I love how you're cross posting too, right? Your goal is to just reach out to everyone and anyone, because anybody could be going through trauma. Matter of fact, I feel like most of us have gone through trauma. So your target audience is not necessarily just business owners or like the younger ones, or, so you chosen for Facebook because you started out that's what you're most comfortable with, but then you're also posting it in other places to reach more people, because anybody can really be your target audience technically.
Absolutely. Like that first question I got at one of my speaking engagements. Well, what is trauma? So everyone experiences trauma or adversity sometime or another in your life. You can't get through this life on earth without that,
Right.
basically. So everyone, I guess, could be a client. And I think maybe some people think that they've never had something traumatic, but maybe that's because they haven't taken the time to think about, why am I doing this? Why am I trying to cover up stuff with dysfunctional behaviors?
And I
That was
think that's where your checklist come into play. And
yeah,
again, I just want to remind all of our listeners and viewers that you've made that available. So please visit Anne's website that I'm going to put in the link below to check out that, because that's, like you said, it's the very first step to healing, right? And then also, if you love to work with Anne, either for yourself or somebody that, that have gone through trauma that you're trying to help or get help for, I'm sure Anne is available. Tell us a little bit about your five-step program, how people can be a part of that.
Yes. Well, if you go to my website, annpayton.com, there is obviously, we talked about the checklist, but we can schedule a free breakthrough call just to kind of get to know each other, see where we're at, see if it's a good fit, and just kind of talk about what's bothering you. That is the first step. And then from there, we can figure out what's the best step plan for you. Is to go into some coaching one-on-one, or maybe you're part of a group of people that I know that there's a group of people that they're family members of people who are addicted to drugs or alcohol, and how does that family group cope? So if you're part of that group, it could be actually a group coaching or a day-long seminar on helping those people to cope, because having an addictive daughter or grandson or something, or even a mother or father, that is traumatic. And how do you deal with that on a day-to-day basis? So it could be for something individually with coaching. It could be a group session where it's a weekend class. And then, of course, speaking, that's again to get that information out there so they can find the help that they need.
That is incredible. So to summarize all of this, we've talked a little bit about what you do, how you help people. And then on the branding side of things, you've chosen to, go live on multiple platforms so that you can reach more people, because virtually everyone has gone through some kind of trauma. You also do speaking engagements. You also coach people, not just the victims of the trauma, but also their support system as well, because we all need help. So it sounds like you're available for individual coaching, for seminars, for speaking, and all of the things to help build the community, to build back the community, a person as a whole. That's incredible. I'm really excited that you got to share some of your birthday with me and everyone today. So thank you. Thank you so much. I'll put all the links to all your content, because I know that somebody watching, someone listening can benefit from this. And thank you so much for being consistent. And I think this is incredible. Sometimes the journey is not so pretty. It can be hard, but by being consistent, by doing all the right things, our messages are being amplified. I get it to the right people, and your job and your heart is really in helping people. I can tell, I can feel it. So thank you so much for using your talent to just bless people.
Oh, well, thank you, Victoria. It does bring joy to my heart when I can see it on their face that something's, the light bulb is going on, and we're making progress. It's really heartwarming to see that, and that's why I do it.
That's amazing. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoy content like this, like I said, be sure to like, subscribe, download, share, comment below, and do all of the things so that we can stay connected. I am really about helping people amplify their brand, and we can do that in so many ways. And so until next time, make sure you own your brand, you amplify that, because the brand builds the business. Thank you.